Hi guys, welcome to my family. My name is Chelsea, and today I'm going to be showing you a super easy recipe that I found on Pinterest called creamy beef and shells. Basically what you do, let me just back up and say that this recipe, now that I've ate it, was very good, and it's pretty comparable to a homemade hamburger helper, and it was also in under 30 minutes, which if you are a mom or someone who just has a busy schedule, you know how important your time is, and it was definitely one that I will be making again for numerous reasons. So let me get started in telling you how to make this. I should say a disclaimer, I do not follow recipes. I did find this recipe on Pinterest. However, since I do like to cook for the most part, I typically, when I find a new recipe, will just look at the ingredients and then kind of skim through the instructions very quickly, and then I can pretty much know how to cook, well, I would say pretty much everything, just by watching a lot of cooking videos and just loving to cook. So you'll see me here just browning up my ground beef. I already have my pasta shells boiling away, and now I'm just adding my seasonings. I will try to link the recipe down below. Just keep in mind I did vary off of the recipe on just a couple of things that I substituted that I did not have on hand, and then there was a couple of ingredients when it comes to seasonings that were not included in the original recipe that I did add to mine. And I will say that this was extremely easy, and we will be making it again. However, my 5-year-old son Jonah did not like the fact that I put onion in this recipe. So if you have a picky eater when it comes to onions, I guess maybe just put some onion powder in there. Next time I'll just make my onions smaller, or just put onion powder in there and he wouldn't even know. He did end up eating this meal and liking it after I told him it was macaroni and cheese with meat in it. Sometimes, as parents, we just have to do what we have to do to get our kid to eat. And, that basically is what it was, that meal. It's very good though. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. I will pop in occasionally here on this voiceover to just explain a couple of things, but for the most part, it's pretty self-explanatory, and just use your best judgment on seasonings and on the measurements. And again, I will kind of give you some estimates on what I used and how I did it. That way you have a better understanding. So as a side for this dish, I just quickly made some steamed broccoli. You'll see me here just pulling off some broccoli off the crown for the amount that we needed. And I just made it short, simple, and quick and easy, and just threw it in a pot with a little bit of water, probably just 1/4 cup of water in the bottom of the pot after cutting that broccoli up, with a little bit of salt and pepper, and I put a lid on it and steamed it, and you just can't really go wrong. If you are the type of people who need extra flavor on your broccoli, I suggest adding it to a baking sheet with some olive oil, salt and pepper, and roasting it. That really changes the flavor of the broccoli, and it is delicious. However, I did not want to turn my stove on for just broccoli last night, and I was just in the mood to get dinner done, and so that's how I made it on this particular night. Now, you will see me adding some flour to this recipe. that is what's going to thicken the sauce that you are going to create here in just a moment. And it's important in this step to make sure you allow that flavor to cook off in that meat. And what I mean by that is you oftentimes, or at least in my experience, I don't make it like this, but I have had in the past where I've had like gravy or biscuits and gravy that taste really floury, and that's just because the flour was not given enough time to cook off and fully absorb into the meat. And so it's important to make sure that you kind of just continuously stir that around every few 30 seconds or so and let that flour kind of do its thing and really cling on to your meat and get that flour taste out of there. You'll also see that I just added a little bit of salt and pepper to the broccoli, and I forgot to put a lid on it right away. If I would have put the lid on it, it would have finished a lot faster, so don't forget to do that. I was distracted listening to my husband and son in the dining room next to me do homework, and they were just sounding real cute, and I totally got distracted and forgot to throw the lid on top. But anyway, next you'll see me add a little bit of beef stock or broth, and there's the lid, and then pasta sauce. So for the marinara sauce, for the beef stock, I added just probably a little over a cup, and you don't want this to be swimming. You want it to just be enough that's going to coat everything and make it a little bit runny. That way your dish is not crumbly and it just kind of comes together. And this will thicken with that flour in there. And then for the pasta sauce, the recipe called for a specific measurement. Again, I do not follow a recipe, and I just went with my heart. And I think I probably put in about 2/3 of a cup of that as well. And that really kind of gives it a really good tomato flavor. So I also went ahead and added the boiled noodles after I drained them into that dish and gave it a good stir. The original recipe calls for some cream. I did not have any of that, so I substituted it with just the milk that I had on hand, which was 2%. It's the only milk we buy in this house, and I absolutely hate whole milk, and I refuse to buy even just the smallest amounts for recipes because I feel like I just simply don't need it. So next you see me just getting ready to add about probably I'd say half a cup of sour cream. And this is where I went a little heavy because I didn't have the actual cream that I added into the dish. You can certainly use less of this if you'd like, but this really gave the meal that velvety, creamy richness that it needed. And then you just add a little bit of shredded cheese to that. I think I probably added about a cup or so and let that just kind of melt together and get incorporated. And then I turned my heat down on low and let it just kind of simmer away, and constantly just kept an eye on it because I didn't want it to burn. And that was pretty much it. By this point, the meal was done. You definitely didn't need to let it sit there and thicken up. I will say, I think it turned out better that I let it sit and thicken, just because it coated the noodles a little bit better. But I would say technically this particular dish was done at this moment. However, my broccoli was not. So that's why I put a lid on it and let it just kind of marry together a little bit. It was super delicious and easy, and I highly recommend this meal if you are a mom who have picky eaters. I think this would be a really good option for you. It's very minimal, it doesn't have a lot of crazy things in it, and I'm sure that a lot of kids would probably really like this meal. It was also super cheap and quick to make, so give it a try. If you do try this, let me know down below in the comment section, and as always, please like and subscribe to my channel.